Hello, this is Elena Addison, and this is my Module 11 case study, Every Day Counts Recording. The case study takes place in Golden Oak or at Golden Oak High School. It has about 965 students enrolled from 9th grade to 12th grade. It's near a metropolitan area, and it doesn't give an exact year of when this took place, but I'm guessing it's about modern day, recently is when it occurred. What actually happened was the previous year there was a high absenteeism rate, and the superintendent is aware of the issue and would like to see improvements. Mr. Rhodes is the principal at Golden Oak High School, and he was hired in like June, July. The day after he was hired, he was told by the superintendent that he would like to see some improvements done at the high school regarding attendance. And he told Mr. Rhodes of the policies that were put forth from the school board that kind of goes along with the state guidelines as far as attendance. And that is that an excused absent is considered can be considered for illnesses, a death of an immediate family member, inclement weather, so like travel issues, because I do live near a metropolitan area, so there are some students that sounds like that do travel. And then the next reason for an excused absence is prior approval from the principal. So the student would let the principal know why they'll be gone. The principal then has to approve it before it happens, so prior approval. And so Mr. Rhodes figured or knew all this information. Another thing I wanted to mention too, that another policy that the school board had was that students that had more than 5 absences the teachers would then have the authority to dock 10 points from their quarterly grade. So that's another policy that the school board has in place for that school. And so so this happened in like June, July. He was told all this. And so the fall semester went by. He didn't really implement anything with attendance. He just kept going. In around Christmas time, so after the fall semester, he looked at the attendance review and noticed that there was a few students that had more than 10 absences already in the first semester. And so he pulled 5 students files and went over their attendance, and listed here on this slide is the reason why they were gone and some just facts about them. So the first one I have is Karen, and she's an 11th grader. She just got married. There's no documentation from between the counselor and the student regarding just getting married and dealing with, everything that happens at school along with being married, young couple, all of that. There's no documentation of anything of with her emotional status and mental health and everything like that. So that was a red flag that he noted, as well as that her grades were lowering as she was as her absence increased. And so there's a few days that she was gone, and he noticed that she was missing assignments, missing class and things like that. And he noticed also that she didn't have any issues beforehand with grades and attendance. So it just happened this year in her 11th or her junior year. Tyrone is a 10th grader. He missed about 14 days so far. 10 of those days he was traveling with his mom and dad, 2 work trips with them. He also noted on the paper that his homeroom teacher excused some of the traveling days or the times he was gone. And like I mentioned before, the only person that can do that is the principal, excuse those days. Carl is a 10th grader. He missed random days throughout the semester. His family doesn't really support attendance because in his file, it shows that the attendance counselor went to go visit his family to talk about Carl's attendance, and the family just acted like they didn't really care. It was no news to them. They said that the school should stay out of the attendance and the family will take care of it. Christina is the next student that missed 12 days for attending out of town church camp. Her homeroom teacher excused those absences, and she missed a lot of exams and assignments since she was gone. John is an 11th grader who is a football player. He had an injury in the beginning of the year and has to undergo physical therapy throughout the weeks. Every week he goes into physical therapy for 2 days for a full afternoon. He's also excused every Friday afternoon to rest before games, and so that's a lot of absences. That's 3 afternoons that he is missing from school every single week, and there's no documentation from teachers of excessive absences. So the legal and ethical issues with this, there's no physical harm happening to these students. However, there is academic harm happening. Their students' self-esteem and confidence with their grades, their academic school is going to be affected by this. And so I noted that there was a legal case, Prince versus Massachusetts, that said it's the state's prerogative that comes as superior to parents' prerogative when it comes to the welfare of a child. So if the school notices that the parents are not keeping up with the welfare for the child, then the state can take over, and the school can take over and make sure that the kids are going to school, the students are going to school. And also I noted that staff throughout the school are breaching contract because they're not even making sure that the principal knows about these excused absences that they're putting down. And so there's not a lot of communication going on between the staff and the principal. So the statement that I came up with to kind of describe what I feel is going on with this case study is that administrators and teachers are not following district protocol for reporting and documenting student absences, and they're not making steps to really improve student and school attendance. So some facts that I came up with as I was going through this case study is that homeroom teachers and the athletic director is making overall decisions of what's excused and unexcused, and frankly, that's not how it should be. The protocol states that the principal takes care of that. Also, the counselor's not really getting involved with these cases that needs to be involved with. So that's another kind of red flag that I saw. Another thing is that teachers and secretaries are not reporting excessive absences. They're kind of letting it slide and not letting anyone know about it. The school board protocol that was in place for attendance is not being followed through, and that there's some lack of some parent support throughout the school district. And so this takes place in a school that has predominantly middle income families, and it's near a metropolitan area. And it's not the only school in the district, or high school in the district. There is some cultural diversity, and I also put a note that there are 11 team sports and 31 clubs, so there's a lot of ways for these students to get involved with. And so if they're not attending school regularly, that's going to affect how they participate in those clubs and sports. So the situation and decision will help improve the community. Therefore, stakeholders should be supportive of this. Parents, staff, and students need to be aware of what's going to be happening, what improvements will be made, and how to move forward with this. And some clarifications that I have before moving on is, how was attendance calculated in previous years? It did note that before, a few years before, there was no issue with attendance, but then now all of a sudden there is. And so I kind of want to know what changed. Why wasn't an issue, but now it is. Another thing that I want to kind of have some clarification on is, how do other high schools in the district handle attendance? Like I mentioned before, this is not the only high school in the district. So I kind of want to know, what are other schools doing that maybe we could do at Golden Oaks? And also, I was wondering if the protocol of taking away points from a grade be changed, because I personally don't think that if you're in a math class and you miss more than 5 times, I do agree that that's an issue, but I don't think their grades should be docked every quarter because of those absences. I feel like there should be some more support from counselors and talking through those situations of why they were gone, rather than docking their math grade for it. I feel like there should be more conferencing with that student if they are missing a lot of days or class periods. And then the last thing I want to note is, what is the easiest way to communicate with parents? I mean, there's some ways that are best and some ways that are not so good to communicate with parents. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of improvements happening, and I want parents to be aware of it. And I want to also know how I can communicate that to parents. So some options to proceed. Number one is to continue on without making any decisions regarding absenteeism and improving it. So just keep on moving forward without doing anything. Option two is to meet with all the homeroom teachers that is logging in these attendance, the administration that also is doing the excused absences and unexcused absences, and discuss how we're going to mark student attendance, because it's not working out right now. There's not communication happening between the principal and the teachers, and everything's just getting shuffled, and some kids are going to be left behind if this keeps up. So I want to hear their input, and I want them to help me decide what we should do to move forward with attendance. Option three is to reprimand those staff members that were involved and make sure they're aware of what to do right and how they can do improve in the future. Option four is to meet with all homeroom teachers and administration and discuss how to mark attendance. I also want to, in this option, bring in the counselor and have them help me to provide ways to help improve the students' outlook on attendance in the school year. And so I feel like getting the students involved will also help because attendance goes beyond school. I feel like that helps with their future careers and endeavors and in life. They have to attend work. They have to attend different events if they committed to it. And so I think we also need some clarification on that with students. So for the pros and cons with the options, option one, the pros for that, there's no confrontation because nothing's done. But the cons then means that it will just continue on like it was. The students will miss school and they won't really care if they do because nothing's getting done about it. Option two is to meet and discuss individually with the staff. I think the pros for that, I would gain staff trust by hearing their opinions and pieces, and staff will kind of know what to do in the future with attendance. The cons with that, though, is that there'll be a lot of different viewpoints to consider, and I may lose trust from some of the staff members because I'm not taking an executive decision and moving forward with it. I'm kind of asking for their opinion rather than making that decision. Also, students are really knowing the importance of attendance because that option deals just with staff. Option three with the reprimand, the pros for that, those staff members that were in the wrong will know what to do in the future, but the cons, I will lose trust from staff members, and not all the staff members will know then how to mark the attendance. And the students also will not know the importance of attendance. Option four was meeting with all the staff members and providing those learning opportunities for students and parents. And I feel like the pros for that, staff will be aware of how to mark the attendance. Students and parents are aware of what's going on, the goals of the school with attendance. And I think there'll be an increased trust between staff, parents, community, students, and the final result will be more participation in all these academics and activities and sports that they're involved in. The cons with this, though, will be that some parents may not be on board, and I don't want to add more things to the staff to-do list. I know they have a lot going on. So choosing the best option, I kind of got a mixture of all of them, and I think that's what I would do in this situation. I would reprimand those staff members and that incorrectly executed attendance that first semester, but then I would talk to all staff members and tell them how I would like attendance to be recorded. I would also make sure the office secretary is in communication with me of who is being gone or what students are being gone and the rise of attendance. I want her to he or she let me know what's going on with the attendance. And so I would make it a priority to do check-ins throughout the week on attendance. So I would choose a Thursday or a Friday, and I would just check in and make sure the attendance is flowing. If I notice any red flags, I would try to address it right away with that student, that family, and that teacher. And I'd also ask the counselors to provide learning opportunities to students and parents for that option. So as a conclusion, the plan is to warn those that are doing it incorrectly. And so hopefully then they will move on and improve their recording of absences because I would then talk to all staff about it. This would also teach students the value of attendance because like I said before, it's a life skill that they need to know for the future. And so I think that would also help the community support too with that if they realize that as well. And so some obstacles I would run into is staff may not agree with the attendance policy. They may think I'm naive to implement a policy with my first year as a principal, but I feel like, yes, it is a big change to address all the staff with the attendance, but I feel like it needs to be done because like I said before, attendance goes beyond school. It goes into the workforce, it goes into their daily life in the future, so it's a big deal in the scheme of things. And also another obstacle will be overwhelming staff. Like I mentioned before, I don't want to add more work to them. It wouldn't be more work for them, it would just be work for everyone, but it'd be worth it in the long run. Plan B, so if that all doesn't work, my plan B would be continue to work with the superintendent, ask him or he or she, what should I do? And I would also ask other building administrators in the district and the community of what they do and see if I could probably implement those procedures as well at Golden Oaks. And so that's kind of how I would handle it if my original plan does not work.